Yes. So my name is Naseh Shahri, and I'm an assistant professor currently at San Diego State University. And I was at Penn State, graduate student at Penn State from 2014 to 2019. And since I graduated, I've had two academic positions. Before San Diego State, I had a position in the writing program in English department at American University, Washington, D.C. Here at San Diego State, I teach a range of courses on language education, theory and practice of ESL, teaching, reading and writing, range of graduate, undergraduate, discourse analysis. I'm sometimes teach our graduate seminar, different topics. Yes, and my research interests are primarily in the intersection of language, identity, culture, social foundations of language learning, language education, literacy, development of literacy, qualitative research methods, that sort of thing. Sure. Looking back at my time as a graduate student at Penn State, I think the 5 years were filled with memorable moments. But if I had to pick one or a few, I'd say I really enjoyed working closely with faculty and other grad students on the invited speaker committee. We got together and organized talks. I was involved in the details of many of these talks, and yeah. So that was a valuable experience. Another one was working closely with faculty, especially my advisor, Suresh. Before coming to Penn State, I admired his work. And when I came here, I got to see up close how research data was collected and research was conducted. It all came together. That and also other faculty that I took courses with. So all memorable moments, but I would particularly, these stand out in my mind. To me, the greatest things about academia, what keeps me working in academia is that there's a combination of teaching and research. Both activities I enjoy. I do research, and as a researcher, I'm involved in applied linguistics and language education. I'm involved in a community of researchers around the world. I get to collaborate with people from across the world. That's really enjoyable for me. But then I also get to share my research, not just research, but also how research translates into pedagogy in my classes with both undergrads and grad students. I can see how my students are excited by the ideas. Really enjoy the combination of teaching and research and the sense of community, both from working with colleagues around the world and my students here at San Diego State. I think to get an academic position, the first question you have to ask yourself is, what kind of academic setting do you see yourself, or do you envision working in and want to work in? Because there's not only one type of academic position. Universities, there's schools that are much more research oriented, schools that are much more teaching oriented. But in general, I think you have to make sure you got a good research track record. You've done research in the past, because I think that could make you stand out when you go on the job market. And also make sure you got a variety of teaching experiences, because that's also a part of the deal when one has an academic position. You should also think about another factor is your narrative, how you're positioning yourself in the job market. Who are you? There is, especially in applied linguistics, it's the field of this contributions from people in education, in linguistics, in English, language education, the people from different departments working in different disciplinary spaces. As somebody looking for an academic position, seeking to secure an academic position, you have to decide how you want to position yourself in that landscape. And you have to be clear and work on your narrative in a way that is consistent with your research and your CV. So those are some factors you need to take into account if you're thinking of or considering an academic position. Yes, publications are really an integral part of. If you asked about academic positions, if that's what you have in mind, then you have to start working on your publication track record, and you have to start early on. I would say one key piece of advice I have for grad students is to approach your coursework with the mindset that the coursework you're doing could culminate in a study, in a research study. Now, I know that most classes are usually topped up with a final project. That final project, class final project, could be turned into a publication. If not now, maybe 2 years down the road. But that should be the mindset with which you approach the coursework and the project. It should be, it's something, it's an investment that could pay off. And then, so your coursework, in addition to that, I think you could look at conferences as an opportunity to network, find like-minded researchers who are working in similar areas. Maybe, and from these networks, you can all sorts of great collaborations could follow. And then conferences could also be an opportunity to get feedback on works in progress. If something is an idea, you have some data you've been looking at, you have a preliminary analysis, but you're still not sure, you can get some valuable feedback in conferences, in addition to feedback from faculty at Penn State. So those would be two, like class projects, conferences, start as early as possible. And I would also say very early on, think about your research interest. Try to consciously, I think, decide on 2 to 3 strands of research you're interested in and pursue them actively in classes you take. This way you can make connections between classes and different classes and hopefully present them at conferences, and later next step would be to try and get them published. Right? In the process, I would say, send them to faculty. I think they would be glad to help you in the process, give you, make comments on your work. And don't be afraid to send out your work to submit your papers to journals. That's how it starts. It might be rejections, but I think that's how you get started.